Would you like to introduce yourself in few words?
Yes, so hi guys, my name is Sangye. I am currently working at Groww as an APM. I recently graduated in 2022 and I studied engineering physics.
Few words तो यार तूने restriction डाल दी काफ़ी but so I'm Chaitanya. I'm presently working in Flipkart as an APM. In college, I've been actively involved in artists and the photography filmmaking part, like sometimes actively, sometimes just out of hobby.
Can you give us a brief idea about what the job of a product manager is and what exposure or knowledge is required for that based on your work experience?
Yeah, honestly, this question is very complicated because the role of product manager changes from team to team, changes from company to company. Uh, so, like, I can divide the answer into segments and give it to you. But if I say one thing that the role of product manager is to give clarity. Essentially, what that person does is keep हर जगह multiple teams हैं. Like whatever product or feature you have to build, there are multiple products. Sorry, not multiple products, multiple teams. So, like just to give you an example, uh, mm, let's talk about ads team. Ads team में you have to बिल्ड प्रोडक्ट जिसके बिजनेस इम्पैक्ट है कि ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा बिजनेस आउटरीच मिल सके. उसमें डिज़ाइनर्स इन्वॉल्व होंगे उस टीम में टू इंश्योर कि वो फाइन प्रिंट हो अच्छे क्वालिटी का. इंजीनियर्स इन्वॉल्व होंगे फ्रंट एंड बैक एंड. एनालिस्ट इन्वॉल्व होंगे टू मेजर द इम्पैक्ट ऑफ हाउ इट्स डूइंग. एंड अब तो डायनामिक एड्स आ रहे हैं तो उसमें मॉडलिंग भी इन्वॉल्व हो जाती है. सो यू कैन सी कि देयर आर पीपल फ्रॉम डिफरेंट रोल्स वर्किंग ऑन इट. PM is a person that ensures a clarity of vision for everything. कि जब भी कुछ नया बना रहे हैं हम, he ensures that everyone is on the same page. He has his own vision based on interaction with different stakeholders and uh, his own research, and that helps him that the product that is being built solves the problem that it is supposed to. एकदम सिंपल ले मैटर से बात करें तो हर कंपनी के अपने अपने हर टीम के अपने अपने मेट्रिक होंगे. लाइक दे मॉडलिंग टीम विल वांट की सबसे अच्छा मॉडल मैं बना दूं एंड इतना इतना प्रिसिशन रिकॉल वैल्यूज हो. देयर विल बी बिजनेस टीम हु वांट कि जितना ज़्यादा पैसा हो सके उतने में मिल जाए. देयर विल बी what do you say, engineering team कि भाई इससे ज़्यादा काम हम नहीं देख सकते, this is my limit. An analyst team whose goal is something different. But PM's goal is to ensure that all of that is aligned. At the same time, users experience is also ensured कि हाँ भाई ये नहीं कि पूरे platform पे ads भरे हुए. Like that's the overall goal of it. A second part to it is that this is business PMing, in which there are users. There's something called platform PMing. What it does is that उसमें directly users नहीं होते. तुम जो products बना रहे होते हो वो तुम अपने internal team के लिए बनाते हो. So इस केस में again the goal is the same. Users बस internal है. So थोड़ी nitty-gritties different हो जाती हैं. And here you need to be a little bit more aware of the tech and everything. But we can get into details later. But overall idea is we call it to ensure that users experience is ensured at all points of time. That's one. But even more generalized definition is that the PM ensures clarity across all stakeholders and the product that is being built. Product means feature being.
Can you give us what is the process for a PM role and what are the rounds of selection that one has to go with it?
So the process is dependent on the companies. We have a few companies that have two rounds and a few companies that have only one round, which is the interview round. So starting with the companies which have two rounds, the first round is the deck round, where they give a problem statement and you have to prepare a deck or for some companies a document solving that problem. That they give about a week or say 10 to 12 days timeline for you to submit your answers or your deck. So depending on their deck, they shortlist. They shortlist about like it's also company dependent. So few companies shortlist 40 people, few companies they will shortlist 10, 15 people. So that's the first round. And the second round is the interview round. So that's the process.
So, what are the pros and cons of choosing product management as a career option?
So the pros and cons. The pros would be that you have ownership of a product. You have the ability to create something. So you have to use your brain, you have to use your creativity. That's one pro. Another would be that you get to interact with people from many different fields. You have to work with engineers, you have to work with analysts, designers. So that is something which is very interesting. You are not a you don't have the technical knowledge in some field, but you have people who are good at it and they will help you. The con will be that again you don't have a specific you don't have expertise at a specific field. That could be one con. The other would be that since there are so many people involved, a lot of the time would be going in managing them and talking to them.
So, my next question would be what characteristics define a good CV for product management and what functions do POR and ECA play? Does CG play a substantial part in enhancing your odds?
बहुत सारे सवाल पूछ लिया तूने. Look, let me. Okay, so CVCG को एक तरफ रखते हैं अभी के लिए, ठीक है, and like general बात करते हैं. So there are different companies who visit your campus, and I will try to include off campus in this as well. So campus में multiple companies visit. Some have their defined recruitment procedure in which they'll ask you for some deck or document. In my time, Groww, Flipkart, and Groww first did that. Like it now. So these people had their defined procedure in which if you have, and these documents is basically they'll give you a problem which you have to solve and you have to analyze the entire facets of it. कब चलेगा, कब फटेगा, कितना सही होगा, कौन से लोगों को affect कर रहा है, all of these details. So you're in second year, so you might not be aware of all the details right now. But if you ask some of your seniors, they'll tell you. Like थोड़ा सा idea लग जाता है by the time you reach there. So you create those documents if those are clear in the sense like thoughts coherently flow हो रहे हैं. प्रॉब्लम ऐसे ऐसे तुमने solve किया. If that works out, those people like your thought process, your document is selected, you get the shortlist. So there's one set of companies, इसमें CVCG doesn't matter to a great extent. Like नहीं ही matter करती most cases. Then there's a second set of companies that give you a test. Last time Neo was one such company. Zomato also did that. So test में did test you on knowledge of PMing. How aware you are about experimentations, testing, making a product, roadmaps. So general product concepts they test you on, and this test में if you do well, you get the shortlist. ठीक है, इसमें like इसमें criteria होता है that test देने के लिए भी they can keep a CG filter or not. So Zomato kept a CG filter at their time कि हाँ भाई अपन रखेंगे, and Neo didn't have any such CG filter. So this is the second type of company that takes a test. The third type, I think Sprinkler that hires for product analyst, they also take a test. उसमें भी CG criteria नहीं होता. But product analyst is a bit different from the test in product analyst is different from product management. These are the second type of company जिसमें test से होता है. There's a third type of company which directly shortlist you based on your CV. These are the companies that come after day two slot two, mostly. Like some come earlier as well. And these companies don't give you an assignment or something like that per se. These are essentially good startups like Front Row. There was Line Chat once. There were a couple of others who come, who look at your CV and they see certain characteristics and then they shortlist you. That's the third set of uh, companies. I'll tell you about what they look into the CV. So I'll tell it right now as well. What they look for in the CV is, uh, have you pulled anything off on yourself, on your own? So it's like if you have created something, uh, well, the best case scenario is that it's a technical product, they're a technical company, and you have worked end to end in creating that and it created some impact. So you're a product manager already. They'll be essentially hiring someone with experience. But इसके कुछ कुछ parts based statement को hold करते हैं कि you have created something. So if it's a non-technical product as well, but you have worked in a startup and you did that, that's a good criteria for them. Something entrepreneurial. The other part of it is that you have worked on a technical project end to end, like not just that मैंने algorithm लिखा है तो वो उनको definition मतलब तुम lines लिखते से उससे समझ में आता है कि you didn't just work on an algorithm, you knew end to end क्या बनाया है and कैसा वो turn out किया. So that's a good point for them, that even though you don't know the marketing, not marketing, but the business aspect of it, but you know कि कैसे build होता है end to end. So that's a green flag for them. Uh, that's the second criteria. What else they look for is कि जब ऐसी चीजें directly नहीं दिख पाती, they look for what do you call POS. POS से जब when they see POS, what they understand is like uh, stakeholder से तुम कितना interaction कर पाते हो. So they try to make it a judge of that part. Uh, Essentially how it translates to job is कि मैंने बताया अभी कि कितनी सारी टीम से तुम interact कर रहे हो and you have to make them all come on the same page with your vision. You have to adjust your vision accordingly and all of that. So some good interpersonal skill is what they try to decipher from the PR. Uh, I'll say I think 5 years back it was a major criteria because उस time पे people didn't have the other two things, like they didn't know that startup experience will help them in a product job or a technical thing in which you have built everything on your own. Not everything, at least you know what all happened, the entire journey of it. So uske pehle it was a major criteria, and there was a time when the direct shortlist happened of people with 4 3 PRs, and but now things are a bit different, and these all criteria come into place. This is about the CV. Uh, Branch also plays a bit of uh, effect in this. So as I mentioned that they look for technical know-hows. So if you are from a non-tech branch, like non-circuitry branch, you have to add something technical in your CV that you have that prowess, similar to analytics or something like that. So like yeah, these are the major criteria that they look into. Uh, just to summarize, one is the entrepreneurial aspect, one is the technical building, third one is communication via the stakeholder management of yours, and fourth one is the branch to some extent. Uh, that's the overall criteria. Also, they look at CG sometimes. It's like a very personal startup to startup thingy. Like Zomato, as I told you, in the test segment, they looked at CG, but yeah, they look for a little bit of CG. 7.5 plus, you are in the safe zone for these companies. Like all of them had that bar, but like there were few companies that rejected people who had 7 plus CG but had less than 7.5. So that's the overall criteria of this aspect. The last part is off campus. You need networks for that, and I can give like another 10-minute monologue on how off campus internships happen because I had done that myself. So I internship and placement. So like I can I will not go into the details of off-campus placement, but just the idea being there's an assignment phase and there's a resume phase. Resume में they don't look at your CG, they see क्या क्या तुमने किया है, essentially the entrepreneurial and the technical aspect, and then they give you some assignment or real world problem that they're already working on. कैसे पहुंचते हैं उन लोगों तक and how all that happens is a separate discussion, and we can go into that later if required.
So my next question would be a personal one. Like you graduated as an engineer, but currently you are a product manager. What was the
Hmm.
reason to change your field from engineering to management?
So I did my engineering in physics, and from the very beginning, I knew that this is not something that I'll be taking up in future. So I was very clear that I want to do something related to what we call non-tech, and product management was a job role that I kind of looked into and I found very interesting. So I obviously submitted my deck, like applied for the companies and got through. That's how from engineering to management.
So my next question is, what is your perspective in product interview, and how do you think it is different from consultancy?
So both of them involve problem solving. In product, the problems are more related to tech or say an app problem solving in that. In consult, I would say it's more related to business profit and loss. I am not very sure about that, but I think some differences are there, although both involve structured answering, which is most important to have a structured way to go about a problem that you are presented with.
Cool. So do you think yeah, that's a personal question, like how product management is a bit different from consultancy? Like in both of them, you have to sell a product. Like in consultancy, you have to share something, a good tip for a person, for any company who is applying for any company. And product management also, like you have to sell a product, like that should be good for the crowd, for the users, for the stakeholders. How do you think that's a bit different?
In product management, you get to build a product from the very beginning, and in consultancy, you are faced with a problem and you are supposed to solve that problem. So you are supposed to, I think, give some suggestions. um, I am not sure if in consultancy you're actually involved in actually going ahead and solving the problem. So in product management, you're solving the problem, but in consulting, you are sort of giving the reasons as to why that problem exists. And for whatever company you are a consultant to, that company will go ahead and use your suggestions and do the problem solving.
So we were at the point like you are in electrical engineering department and everyone knows that how hectic that department is. मतलब workload बहुत ज़्यादा होता है. So how did you manage that in actors project from second year? Then you went for the president at the fourth year, and you were also looking at your accounts, and you were having a quite decent CG. How did you manage all those things?
ये पहले तो डिसेंट नहीं थी, वो तो ऐसे मेंटेन किया गया बाद में. So मतलब the CG had its own graph of its minima and maximum. So that's been there. Uh, like how did you manage? So I think it's like or every senior from whom you ask say boils down to one thing about prioritization and what's your priority. For me, electrical wasn't the first priority. Uh, I want like when I joined IIT, I wanted to do electrical because I thought कि मैं research करेगा. But later I found an actress कि maybe ये try करके देखते हैं. And I liked the kind of work I was doing there, and the kind of people that were there. So I stayed. Post that, my academics took a hit as well. Like my third semester, like गाली दे सकते हैं. Basically fucked up a lot. My third semester was really bad.
Like
Like so I failed a course. I withdrew one, so it was a bad semester. From there, I was like, some balance needs to be maintained. COVID also helped in that because you can easily divide your time in that scenario. It's a like so when you are in college, what you do is you're doing going to class for say 3 hours. You are maybe studying for say 2 hours. You are uh, I don't know, doing your club work for another 2 hours. But इन 2 hour के साथ में 1 घंटा आगे 1 घंटे पीछे बकचोदी भी attached होती है. Like with the people whom you're working with or studying with. So that part is important, is very important for college. Like वो बहुत प्यारी memories होती हैं. But in COVID that part became less, so I was able to manage my time a bit better. And how my CG became better was I tried taking courses which actually interested me. So I have a minor in entrepreneurship. So I that helped with my CG, and there were some other open electives, some Ds, which kind of helped me out. So that's the overall journey of how the academics part happened. And actis part was something that I actually loved. I liked the work that I was doing there. Uh, and there were stretches of extreme hard work, creating something big. Then like there was some calm for a time. So ऐसे balance हो जाता था. I wouldn't say that I did perfect justice to it. There are people who have done it better than me, but for me, this kind of worked out.
So my next question is, how much time do you think one should devote for preparation to crack placements?
It depends on the person, but say 2 months would be a good time. If you devote more time than that, that's also good. But I'm talking, if you're talking about, let's say, a minimum or a medium time required, that would be good enough. And
Uh,
actually, when you are talking about preparation, you just have to have a set questions that you have done, or books that you have gone through. If you are done with that, then you are ready for the placement interview round.
so what were the books that you followed? Like, can you give some tips?
So there are a few books, I don't remember names. One of them was Cracking the PM Interview, um, Decode and Conquer, some case books. Some of the IITs also have product case books. Then videos on YouTube. There is PM School. They have videos of product management interviews. So that is helpful. Apart from that, there are a few questions like, what is your favorite product? How would you improve it? These are like the basic questions that everybody has to say prepare before the interview.
So my next question would be, what should be the initial steps while preparing for this job role, like product management, and from where should the preparation be done?
So for fourth year person, I'll say there's two aspect to it. Like you are like one extra step that comes when a person is younger is that you have to figure out if you even like product management or not. You spend time on that. Assuming you're in fourth year, that boat has already sailed. 6 महीने में placements आ रही, ठीक है, and you have to prepare for it. So there's an interview aspect of it, like how you prepare for the recruitment process per se, and there's one knowledge aspect of it. ठीक है, knowledge aspect के लिए you read books. Like there's a book like Decode and Conquer, which is a good book that you can read. Or for the knowledge aspect, you can join some cohort, some good cohort. People like nowadays, people are milking a lot of money from product management. तो कोई भी ऐसा cohort जो कि free हो और थोड़ा reputable हो और थोड़े पैसे ले रहा हो, like some reasonable amount, जैसे कुछ कुछ लाख रुपए मांग लेते हैं, तो don't fall for those. But there are some, like I think Hello PM was one. The product Hood was one actually that was free. I kind of forgot that. But हाँ, अगर if like depending on your study style, if you are good with reading a book, go with the book. If you want that live थोड़े lectures मिल जाए, थोड़े videos मिल जाए, go for a cohort. Choose a free one if possible. The product Hood had one. If not, then you can pay some reasonable amount. That's like to get the knowledge aspect of it. Uh, it helps in ensuring that you have like covered the gaps in your knowledge. The second part is again knowledge में ही there's a technology angle to whatever you study. ठीक है? Technology angle is that how well you understand tech. Tech doesn't mean coding. Tech means कि तुम technology कितना अच्छे समझ रहे हो. How is internet working? How does make my trip work? How does book my show handle multiple ticketing requests at the same time? So मतलब बहुत एक बार ऐसे अचानक से तुमसे पूछ लो तो लाइक you'll be like हाँ कैसे करता हूँ एक टाइम पे अगर सारे लोग से ब्रह्मास्त्र का नहीं एवेंजर्स का टिकट बुक कर रहे हैं तो like how will they manage that? So these are small nitty-gritties, some concepts that you learn. There's a book called Swipe to Unlock, which is really good for it. You can read that, or you can go for multiple articles. So pick a product, say Zomato, which covers the food tech industry and kind of e-commerce too, थोड़ा बहुत difference होगा e-commerce से. Uh, explore उस पे articles पढ़ लो कि how does the system design of Zomato is, कैसे कैसे उस पे कहाँ हो जाएगा आप. Do it for some other product. खुद से एक बार सोच के देखो, पहले एक दो खुद में read कर लो, then try doing it for a new product. जहाँ first हो, read that article up. So that's another way of doing that. So I don't know for this, whatever works your thing. Options इसलिए दे रहा हूँ because study style is different for each person. ये दोनों cover हो गया, the knowledge part, the technology part. The third part is specifically to the recruitment process. In the last answer, I explained to you different companies that come to it. एक टेस्ट वाली कंपनीज थी. टेस्ट वाली कंपनीज तुम्हारे इन दोनों बुक से कवर हो जाती है. Like they kind of do it for you. You get not book but process से complete हो जाती है, knowledge and technology वाली. The other part is जो डॉक्यूमेंट बनाने बोलती कंपनीज, राइट. तो उन कंपनीज के लिए व्हाट यू हैव टू डू इज you have to kind of एक बार practice कर लो, एक या दो बार before the actual deck. So there's a startup called the Product Folks. What they do is they organize monthly tear downs in which they give you a product, they ask you to improve it. You can have a reference at the previous decks to get an idea of how that's working. You essentially understand the product, the users that it's serving. You understand different types of users that it's serving, cohorts, essentially. उस यूजर कोहॉर्ट में यूजर कोहॉर्ट मतलब essentially नेटफ्लिक्स की बात करें तो इट्स लाइक देयर आर डिफरेंट वेज यू कैन डिफाइन कोहॉर्ट्स. किस जगह से आ रहा है वो, और कितना मूवी देख रहा है, कितने वीडियोस पर मतलब कितने मूवीज पर मंथ देख रहा है, बेसिकली उसके बेसिस पे लाइक एनी वे यू कैन डिफाइन अ कोहॉर्ट. सो व्हाट आई मीन टू से इज दैट तुमने उस कोहॉर्ट, स्पेसिफिक कोहॉर्ट फॉर दैट प्रोडक्ट, यू आइडेंटिफाई प्रॉब्लम्स क्या है, यू ट्राई टू सॉल्व इट, यू ट्राई टू figure out where it will fail, where it will work, how you can measure its success. So that's like a bit of standardized and not so standardized way. So standardized because of the flow that I mentioned, not so standardized because तुमको शायद बीच में और भी चीजें ऐड करनी पड़ी प्रॉब्लम समझाने में और यूजर्स को समझाने में और सॉल्यूशन को समझाने में, as the case may be, to make it coherent. ठीक है. And the product folks I was mentioning is that they used to do, I think they still do, these tear downs. And if you do one of those, you'll have some idea of how it's being done. उसके बाद जब तुम्हारी companies वगैरह आती है, you can easily do that because थोड़ा difference होगा. Someone will ask for a document in which you have to put in more text to explain things. Someone like Flipkart will ask for a deck. Someone don't have any criteria, build whatever you're comfortable with. So like, yeah, that's how you learn the deck making process. One tip that someone gave me last year and was really helpful is कि solution से problem पे मत जाना. It's like, don't think your solution first and then see how it fits with your problem. Think coherently. Like कैसे एक step से next step पे तुम जा रहे हो. Think maybe in terms of pages. एक page से next page पे जा रहे हो. तो is it logically flowing? समझ में आ रहा है ये हो रहा है और नहीं. So that's the overall idea of the deck making process. The second part is the interview. Interview may be there are three types of cases. Flipkart asks three. Most other companies will ask two of these, or maybe depending on the case, maybe. So the three types of cases are RCA, root cause analysis, in which they give you a statement and ask you to figure out what the problem is. It's a specific type of case. There's a book called Cracking the Product Interviews. It has these four sections. First one is making a deck. The second one is RCA. The third one is product thinking, which is another round of interview in which they will tell you to build a product. And the fourth one is the technology cases, which I talked to you about. The technology book I mentioned, Stripe to Unlock. So that gives you context. I'll just give you example of one case of each of these types so that someone who's watching will get the idea. Yeah, so the first one is RCA example could be that the engagement in WhatsApp is down, figure out why that's happening. And you build that entire structure conversation on that. That's one. The second one could be the product thinking is design, say, Flipkart for kids, it's like another product thinking question. Or maybe design a fridge for the blind. That's like another question. Uh, Technical cases maybe the question could be uh, how does the messaging feature in WhatsApp work? That's I think the first case in that book only. Like how does the messaging feature of WhatsApp works? Like this single tick, this double tick, and the entire tick architecture, how that's working. So, like how to approach these cases can be another conversation in itself, but these are the major ideas in the book. So, this is a good point. The important part is that just reading won't help. Like the consulting cases, you will have to practice it with people who are doing it, and it will give you that edge that separates you. So, that's the overall idea of it. Just one tip, if someone is preparing for multiple things, like multiple profiles, in that case, you might need to see how these are linking together and prioritize your time accordingly. Uh, so, because they say the structuring in consulting cases, just to give you an example, which kind of helped me was that in consulting cases, the structuring that you learn from the unconventional cases there kind of helps in the RCA. Has like the thought process. Not exactly the same cases, no, but thought process helps. So yeah, that's the overall gist of it.
My next question is, what made you stand out from the crowd, and what was the X factor that led to your selection?
Uh, यार ये तो तुझे मेरे इंटरव्यूअर से पूछना पड़ेगा. But what I'll say is that one thing that I felt actually helped me and could have put a good impression in the minds of like interviewer as well. Actually, two step, not one. Though one specifically to the interview is like जो तुम केसेस में मैंने तुम्हें बताया अभी ऐसे डब्बे होते हैं कि हाँ ये इस तरह का केस है ये इस तरह का केस है एंड स्टफ बट व्हेन यू गो इन द इंटरव्यू देयर इज नो डब्बा लाइक वो बंदा 10 साल 15 साल एक्सपीरियंस हो उससे थोड़ी पता कि तुम आज से प्रिपेयर करके आए हो कि प्रोडक्ट थिंकिंग आए हो he'll ask you random questions जनरल क्वेश्चंस मैं से इतना रैंडम पूछा था कि फ्लिपकार्ट के सेल्स बढ़ाने क्या करोगे हमने क्या प्रोडक्ट क्या सेल्स कौन से लोग मतलब इट्स लाइक दैट ब्रॉड क्वेश्चन यू हैव टू नैरो इट डाउन कि कौन से प्रोडक्ट की बात करें कौन से एरिया की बात करें कौन से कस्टमर कोहॉर्ट की बात हो रही है देन फिगर आउट उनमें क्या प्रॉब्लम्स हैं कैसे क्या क्या क्राइटेरिया जिस पे वो प्रोडक्ट खरीद सकते हैं किस चीज़ में तुम डिफ्रेंशिएट कर सकते हो क्या और कर सकते हो इट्स लाइक wasn't a case it was a big discussion in itself and so what I think helped me was that part that I mentioned in earlier answers to keep clarity कि एक स्टेप से अगले स्टेप जो तुम जा रहे हो वो कितना क्लियर है ये बस तुम assumption पे जा रहे हो या फिर is there solid backing for moving from this step to the next step ठीक है it holds for your decks it holds even for the interviews that you're doing कि तुम कितनी clarity से आ गए that's like one thing that helped the second thing which I'll say from the preparation was that I prepared for it like I wanted to do product I kind of made my mind after my internships that ये करना है तो I prepared for it uh, मतलब this was one of my priority during the product placement so when you have prepped a bit it helps uh, just to give you a start like not exactly start but a fact that used to happen was that people who got shortlist for Flipkart earlier when the product like अब product तो popular हो गया कि तुम ये interviews कर रहे हो पहले नहीं होते थे पहले consulting होते थे बस so it's like it's becoming a fad right now but even before that what used to happen was the people who were shortlisted for Flipkart like say maybe 10 people or 8 people from each college uh, some got selected in Flipkart others got selected in different companies and why that happened was Flipkart के एक महीने का buddy round होता है in which you're all preparing for those cases. Buddy कितना help कर रहा है that's like depends on the buddy, but mine was काफी helpful. Uh, uh, but in general you practice amongst each other and uh, like जब इतनी practice तुम्हारी हो जाती है you are a bit at a higher level for people who started preparing a day before the interview or 2 days before the interview जब उनको shortlist पता चली ठीक है तो I think practicing helps practicing from the right source is even better.
Do you think is internship experience necessary for this position? And if not, what alternatives exist?
So if you have a good deck, then your chances of selection are high if you do not have an internship. However, the CV comes in the picture when your interview is going on, and say the interviewer wants to get to know more about you. That's why they'll go into your internships. What have you done? You know, how you answer them. That shows your personality to them. So, if not an internship, if you have other talking points in your CV, I think that could also work.
So काफी सही tips there. So one personal question. So you have given a prominent time to Enactus, starting from project associate to project manager and then president. How has this journey helped in your growth?
And I actually wrote a long post on it when I left in Actis because it's been really close to my heart, I'll say. I put that on LinkedIn. Uh, but the idea being कि uh, like the realm of possible कि ये चीज possible है ये चीज possible नहीं है uh, that expanded a lot from me while being a part of an artist. So like I have done things that every time I thought like I wouldn't have ever done it or like this is all I can do. And I have done something more than that because the situation required for it or just it happened. Even the video editing part, which I enjoy, or like it, but it essentially came out of a need that an advertisement needs to be made in December for an artist when I recently joined as a junior associate or something, and I just tried my hands on the software. I liked it. So yeah, uh, it's like it has helped me question what's possible for me at different stages of my life, and it kind of gave me the confidence कि हाँ यार चीजें हो सकती है. So that was helpful.
If not a product manager, then what would you have chosen as an alternate career option?
मतलब this answer varied within each month of my placement cycle. As in fourth year में जाने के तुरंत बाद, then तब the answer changed with each time. But honestly, till the by the end of it, I had reached the stage कि यार product management ही करना है. If not here, then off campus. I had some off campus interviews with Byju's and Cast 24, so I had gotten into the zone कि करना तो यही है. And it's like Karnataka is not just about interest कि हाँ बस इसी में interest है. There were things that were also interesting. बाकी fields में interesting थे for me. In general लोगों के लिए तो होती है. But I had put in so much effort in this part of it, so I was like, yeah, interest भी effort भी लग चुका है तो यही करता है.
So if not product management, I think at that time I was very interested in fintech itself. So I would have probably applied for, say, a startup working in fintech, or applied out of the placements. Or if you're talking about placements, I think I would have probably taken up like a business analyst role or something like that. But I'm really happy that a product management as a job exists. I think it fits perfectly into what I expect from a job and what I'm getting. Yeah.
So one fun question. Can you share an interview question that made you feel confident or embarrassed?
Embarrassed तो वही था जो मैंने पहले बताया. वो बंदे ने सीधा आके पूछ लिया कि बताओ फ्लिपकार्ट के सेल्स कैसे बढ़ाएंगे. आई एम लाइक वाओ, आई कैन इट बी मोर एब्स्ट्रैक्ट. मतलब इट्स लाइक जब तुम्हारे सामने पहली बार ऐसा कोई ऐसा बॉम्ब ला के फोड़ दे, यू डोंट नो लाइक वेयर टू गो अबाउट इट. बट देन इट अगेन बॉइल्स डाउन टू लाइक structuring the entire thing and taking up from there. So that gave me confidence as well. Another thing that I felt confident about was so there's a second round which they do probably with no second or third round they do with the director or something, and he started asking about why product management, and I had actually prepared a PMing sort of way of answering that. Uh, was somewhere on the lines of it was somewhere on the lines of I think product market fit. So there is a concept of product market fit, which is like you have changed your cohort of users and you have tweaked your product accordingly so that it has reached a stage in which this kind of users will buy this product automatically by word of mouth.
So it was not an interview question, but overall I was very nervous for the interview process itself. So in the first round, I remember that when we are going through the case solving, I was taking a lot of time and giving a lengthy answer. So my interviewer said, just stop. And now you have to, this is a rapid fire round, and you have to answer this question very quickly. And I got a bit scared, but then I was able to give like a quick answer. So, like, thankfully, I got through that round. So, this is something I remember.